Yeah, I'm really sorry. I don't.
I'm just getting my tea. I'm fine. This time is afternoon, evening in Germany.
Ah,
So never mind.
oh, right, right. Where are you in Germany, sir?
So this is in Hanover. This is central North Germany.
Yeah, I remember they used to have a football club.
Yes, every city has a football club here.
Yeah, I think they used to play Bundesliga. That's what I remember.
Right, right. So today afternoon we're having a match. A lot of noise here. So I stay near the stadium.
Ah,
So
I see. Hanover 96? Was that the name? I don't know.
exactly. Wow,
Yeah.
you're more literate than me in football, at least.
I mean, there was a time when I used to. I think, yeah. I left that side. I used to follow our football.
All right. And you're in Delhi, or?
Yeah, so I just joined like last year. So I was in United States for 7 years, 7.5 years, and then I just came back and joined here. Most of my family is from here.
By the way, just to let you know, there's some echo coming from your side. I don't know. It's because most of us are muted or unmuted, or is it because something else?
Yeah, I'm not very sure. Also, this doesn't happen. Are you hearing it still?
No, it's
No.
fine.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so sir, I joined IIT because most of my family is here in Delhi. I happen to be from a place very close to here called Meerut, but my immediate family is in Jaipur because my dad was posted there. But yeah, so you're from the third batch, right, sir?
I do not know which number batch. Let me just think. It should be, yeah, yeah. It's in some sense it's third. In those days, we also used to have a half batch in between. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. I saw that.
Yeah. So we have two such batches, right? In that sense, we are third. Yes.
I see. Ashish, sir, like, I'm just a bit curious. Can you tell me how do you pronounce your last name?
Ashish. Papu?
Okay, okay, sir.
Yeah.
So, and I think you and Amod sir are supposed to are batchmates, but Amod sir
No, we are
hasn't.
not.
Oh, he's
Actually, we
not.
are not. He is, as Abhishek mentioned, he's from one of the January batches where there was a
Ah,
spring batch.
I,
So technically, he was my senior.
I see, I see.
Yeah.
And you happen to be in New York, sir.
Yeah, I'm in New York.
I see. I was there for 3 months. A
Yeah.
short internship stint. I
Mhm.
was in Murray Hill in Bell Labs.
Nice. Nice. That's
Yeah,
a
good place. Yeah, for us electrical engineers, it's a good place to work at.
yeah.
Mm.
Are
Yeah,
there
it's pretty
more?
great.
Sorry, sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying that it's pretty green campus. I mean, the campus looks
Yeah,
beautiful.
very.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know how to drive. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Uber had just come into the scene then.
Well, you don't want to drive in New Jersey. It's the roads. I mean, it's not the roads, it's the drivers.
I see.
There are a
Mm.
lot of jokes about New Jersey drivers.
Mm. So, I
Sorry,
mean,
Abhishek, you're saying something.
yeah, yes.
I was saying that I was actually surprised that there are more disciplines in Triple IT. So when we were there was only information technology. I mean, they should have called it computer science for all you know. They call this IT.
Mm.
But you saying that you're from electrical engineering, that means that assuming that there are more disciplines then.
Not really. So those are the two. We had bioinformatics, if I'm correct, but that happened after I graduated, and that just continued for an year or two, and then it was just yeah, and yeah, that wasn't a really good experience for a lot of students there. But yeah, Rohit sir is also from ECE. Yeah,
Yes. So,
so
hi everyone, Rohit here. I graduated from Triple ITA in 2011 from Electronics and Communication Engineering batch and did my PhD from Wisconsin. And right now I'm here in the Bay Area working for NVIDIA.
All right. I can see
hi,
Amo.
yeah, hi Amod sir.
Hey everyone.
Hello, sir.
S- Sir, so I wrote that as like for your current thing, I wrote that your co-founder Inception. I think you must have seen that thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, because I think you wrote like somewhere. I think the students, I don't know, maybe they picked it up from LinkedIn, but they wrote like app dynamics. So I just asked them to change that.
Yeah, we're still in stealth, so I haven't updated my LinkedIn on purpose.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Hmm. So yeah, today, I mean, we're trying to keep it light, I think, but we do have like, I think 10, 11 questions from the students already as we speak. Yeah, and I think I've just planned some questions on my own. Yeah, I think, not sure we can, compress them in 45 minutes. But yeah, one request. So like, if I ask someone and like the other has some opinion to make, please button, like please do, because we really don't have time to go about it. So yeah, I think there it is. Actually, what I wanted to let you know, and I would have asked this question to Abhishek sir, was like, there is a massively decreasing count of PhD aspirants from our college. I think Rohit sir's batch, maybe he's the only one. I'm not very sure.
Yeah, I'm the only one.
And my batch had a bump. Like we had like 5. And then I think since then, next, and that was driven by EC, and the next batch was like 3 or 4. And then since then it's like 0. Like 0. So like, I think in India, uh, I think the pay scales have like shot through the roof, especially since 2014, because there's a lot of startup money coming in, and to prevent people leaving for these startups, the established companies have also raked up their pay scales. So yeah, this is an interesting thing, because like, I think for electronics it makes more sense. It's like for us, the salaries, even if you look at the financial sector, I think like for after PhD and prior to PhD, there's a massive jump, massive difference. I don't know about computer science and IT. Yeah, so I think this would be one real thing, like why even go for this when financially it probably doesn't make so much sense. I'm not very sure, but just I think this is a question I'll just put up. I think nobody in triple IT actually goes, and it's not just triple IT, here at IIT also. Most people, even if you're from material science, you would try to take a course that would put some coding kind of stuff in your CV, and I think that's what's happening here. And it's pretty ridiculous, because I work for a lot of uh, government committees here. I was lucky to be put in there, but we don't have a strategic sector. We really don't. And it's like all app kind of thing, which is not wrong, but it seems like everyone goes there, and that's how it has happened. I think that would be the focus right now. Yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of faculties from like who have done masters. We also have people who are like who have done their PhDs in India or in triple IT, and have gone on to like in Korea and Japan, and become professors there. I'm really surprised. I mean, during this search, trying to find you guys out, I came to know about these things. Yeah, like I think Abhishek sir may be knowing, but like 2 people I know, like I contacted them. One is a professor in NTNU in Norway, the other NTU Delft, and they both are masters from Triple IT. I mean,
Someone from NTNU
Yeah.
that's in Trondheim, right?
Yeah, Trondheim.
Okay, so haven't heard about this person.
Yeah,
Kshitij Sharma, right?
yeah, Kshitij Sharma. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, this
Both
name
of
sounds-
them.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Both of them were doing their masters when we were doing our undergrad.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I never thought of them as such. I'm like, yeah, that's surprising. I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe because I did not have any contact, and while searching for this, like, I found it out that that was the case.
When did when did you guys finish your undergrad? Rohit
So
and BP?
I finished in 2011.
I was in 2012, sir.
Oh,
So
so
actually, yeah, sir. So I think Rohit sir and I were actually the first ECE PhD students to land in United States. I think we did it at the same time.
got it.
Uh,
No, I was just trying to place if me or Abhishek must. We probably didn't see those guys in our time.
No, not really. I think there's a lot of culture shift also after our generation.
oh yeah. So
already
Already makes us sound so old, Abhishek, the way you say it.
not just about that. So like when I was working on these things, I realized that there are actually, three generations in triple IT now. Like one is like 2006 and above. That is you guys. And I think I don't know how you guys fared through the college, but then there is 2007 and like till 12 and 13. I think that's a very tumultuous time in our college history. Wasn't good at all. I mean, there was a total uncertainty about what's going to happen with our careers. So I actually led a protest which removed the director. And it was a really rough time for me.
so you were the one. So we have you to
Yeah.
thank.
I don't know, but yeah, thank you. But that was really rough time because I had to protect my degree and all that. And
Because of the 2007-8 recession or something else?
no, sir. So there were, it was always building up, but we had learned to accept all that. Maybe you guys also had. I don't know. But what broke the camel's back was like Nenny, right? You
Yeah.
guys might be. So
Yeah.
I think like you had these buses and rushing, that would just rush through in the morning and stuff. And then what happened is one day there was this guy Akshay Tyagi who's from Meerut also, a young guy, single mother, her husband had died and the single child, and the bus inside the campus ran over him. Okay, like inside the Neni campus, there's no space for it, but and he just passed away. All right. Now you would expect the administration to have some, appreciation or whatever, but then what they said was not our fault. They announced the compensation, and then they said we're not going to give you anything, this is for the media. Like they just told the mother. So I received a call from mom, and then what happened was everyone had grievances, and then it just it started, and then it just ballooned into something. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but like throughout the protest, we never had any financial problem. We thought we had no contact with alumni, and I mean, the institute has since tried to get some money, which is really stupid the way they do it. But like that time, I totally remember we had no lack of money to like feed the entire student population there, and that was a massive population. I mean, by our times, the sizes of the batch were large enough, and now they are much larger. I think thrice of what we had. And then there's the generation 3 that have come after us, and they now it's like a normal college. They have gymkhana, students have some voice, like it's, and they don't know what we went through. I think we have some idea about what you guys went through. That's why like
I,
we had no contacts and we did not know about our seniors at all.
Actually, so in 20, I think it will happen in 2011, I believe. And
Yes,
yeah, so I think there were, so while we were at CMU, we did have a sort of a kind of a, I don't know, like we hold up some placards for in support of what
Yeah, we
you
had
guys were
some
going through. So yeah,
also.
candlelight visuals. Yeah. So yeah, I remember that it was
yeah,
probably
thank
like
you all. I
sometime in
mean,
April. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how the word spread or whatsoever, and that's the beauty of it. And I was telling the director this one day, like when we were talking about how to get back money, and I told him this, like this is an incident because the university really tried to get some donations or whatsoever from alumni. Nothing ever came through. And but that during that protest, we never had any lack of money. So like it just says that probably the admin was very, yeah, it did not want students to come together. I mean, there were reasons for it, but yeah, that is what it is.
So apparently, in one of the emails, Shekhar Suman mentioned that somebody met, some of you actually met in Kapil Civil in Delhi at that
That is
time
true.
and handed over a memorandum. Yeah.
That is
So
true.
I'm
The
just following the email thread.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm just.
not actually us, but the parents of a lot of students
I see.
did. So how they messed up is like they started calling up parents from unknown numbers and started threatening the students who were there. Like my dad received a call, and my dad, like, he was an IAS officer. Like, he retired as a chief secretary of our state, Rajasthan. But he was told that you better remove your kid out of there. Like, and yeah, they were like from unknown numbers, there were threatening calls, and quite a few students actually left because there were mothers crying over phone and stuff. I mean, the demographics have really changed now. If you look at the students, you feel, I mean, Indian per capita income has also increased, right? Like, so students are more capable, more sure of themselves. Our times, it was mostly the demographics would be attributed to lower middle class. It's like that really mattered to us, our degrees. But yeah, we pulled through. I mean, everyone got together and pulled through. 2014, he was removed, and now he cannot attend any government event or whatsoever. He cannot hold any post. So I think from what we hear, he was posted in a university in Madhya Pradesh, where he got stuck in this Vyapam scam, and that actually nailed him. One would expect he would learn, and he was removed here now. But yeah, that is what it is.
Yeah, so one reason why the universities are not able to raise money is exactly because of this, right? If you do not care for the students when the students are there in the university, then students wouldn't care for you when they're out. Rather, the only thing which we sympathize with is relations, right? So
Exactly, and I think
right. So people, the student relationship is probably the most cherished thing, or the only cherished thing which I take out from Triple IT. One major thing, and that's probably the reason why you got some support, right? Not the other way around, right? If it is comes from the university, then probably not people will be less inclined.
yes, exactly, sir. That is what I tried to point out, and the director agreed with it, and he indicated to so-called officials in Triple IT in front of us. We were like 5 or 6 of Triple IT alumni when this was happening, but they still went ahead. You see, they still created a page. They still created this like gold wall, silver wall, bronze wall. कि भाई 20,000 से ज़्यादा दोगे तो आप gold wall में हो गए. And like there is no one who's donating like from bachelors. There's like MBA people, some very few,
That
and
is,
there are some PhD students.
that is so unfortunate because I know there are a lot of people from my batch here in the Bay Area. I'm sure from other batches also, and we've talked about it amongst ourselves from the universities where we did our masters, from the universities where we did our PhDs and MBAs. There's so many times we get the opportunity to become a part of their events. We donate, but we talk about it that there is actually nothing like that happening on the triple IDA side. So maybe this will be a one of those watershed moments where people actually
Hopefully,
realize that there is something.
but sir, there is a huge problem still. I mean, we still don't have a check and balance going on here. Right now, what is it? You give it to us, and then we'll use it. That's not how it works. You don't even have an association. And that's very necessary. I mean, we need to have an account of what our money is being used for. I mean, at IIT is a good example. Like, I, as a faculty, I get not much, but 30,000, ramp up over my monthly salary, and then I get some money for, which is good enough for my research also. So I mean, the alumni board knows it, that's happening. And but here, I mean, I think what this would allow us is to like talk to the director again, and I think we would press the point now. I did, but there are some faculties from old times who decide to just go ahead as what they want to. I mean, a lot of us have made this point very clear, and nobody has donated from bachelor batches. And why would, like, I wouldn't ever, and especially if you striate me in like three branches, like gold, silver, bronze, like according to how much I give, and that's like really I don't
Actually,
know. Yeah.
one of the things that's very different, at least from my point of view, was I have very fond memories of more than actually relationships also. But even that aside, I have very fond memories of my time at Triple IT. And maybe that's because our batch was very different in the sense that we were sandwiched between Ashish and Abhishek's batch, I think. And most of us, actually, no, Abhishek, there was another one after Abhishek, and then together that one and ours was the year batch. And we spent the first 6 months of our bachelor's in some other college. So I came from ISM Dhanbad.
Oh, I
So
see.
2002, the exam in 2002, uh, the admission was through JEEs, but they couldn't fill all the seats in the first counseling.
Hmm.
So they did a second counseling. By the time second counseling happened, it was 6, 7 months. Anyway, so when I came to Triple ID from Dhanbad, to me it was coming back to Delhi. I'm from Roorkee, so coming back to Delhi from Roorkee. That was
Ah,
that type of a difference between Dhanbad and Triple IT Allahabad.
yes.
Everyone had a PC. The internet always worked. So in Dhanbad, believe it or not, all of us had to go and create an email account on this website called Eudora Mail, because back in 2002, all the other popular websites, Yahoo, Rediff, whatever, would just never open. You would
Ah,
sit in front of a computer for 30 minutes and nothing happened. So from that, when we came to Triple IT, we were like, wait a minute. There are buses to transport you from one campus to another. What is that? The internet always works. What do you mean I have a PC and I don't have to share it with anyone? What does it mean that the campus is open 24 hours? Where am I? Like, what happens, right? So I grew up in IIT Roorkee in the campus. My dad's a professor there. So to
oh,
me, it was like, yeah, this is what normal campus life is like. And
uh,
and Dhanbad for different reasons wasn't like that. So I early on in 2002, when none of the batches had still graduated, to me that was still very, oh wow, this is a new type of college, very modern in its thinking. So my perspective about all this bullshit and corruption and all of that was not we didn't see any of that, at least then, or at least maybe I
oh,
had rose tinted
interesting.
glasses.
Very interesting. Huh. Okay. Maybe
Us,
at our times it just got really bad. I don't know.
no,
But
you're right. I mean, it's not like everybody had a homogeneous experience. Amod is right that these spring batches actually had slightly different experiences than the normal batches, if you wish, right? In our case, we were there for 1 year in Neni, and we also had bad experiences. So we're the first batch to have started the Neni escapade. So we were there.
Yeah.
oh,
And then when we went to Neni, well, the first day I was joining, the room just across me had fellow colleague who died the same day, same night. So
really?
yeah, he died the same night, and nobody knew what actually had happened, right? So what was happening was we just entering the university. Essentially, this was not the main campus in Jalwa, but it was in the university, right? The Allahabad University. So we were with our bags and with the pillows and everything. We had to go to this Katra place, right, which is nearby.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We got a bedding and everything. We had to buy those at that point of time, right? We had to buy this, and we're just entering, and there's a dead body which is just going out, and it was horrible. Right? When that was the inception to Triple IT. It was the first day, and well, we spent the night in Neni. That was the first night, right? And it was the first batch, first night for this one. And then I step out of my room, and I'm in water. my feet are in water. I could not actually go out to the porch. So we've seen the brunt of what can go wrong firsthand. So our batch actually saw the nanny. I would not call this brutality, but it was a induction by fire in some
Yeah, I
sense.
mean, yours would be even worse. I think the first batch would be, yeah.
First nanny batch, yeah. But I mean, but the advantages which Amod is mentioning, that was there to be, experienced. Definitely, right? So
Yes,
fast.
I agree. I agree. I mean, it wasn't all gloom and despair. Yeah. I mean, the
Yeah, and it sounds
infrastructure.
like some of it was despite the administration, not because of them, the advantages. I spent 6 months in nanny and going back and forth. We justified it to ourselves by saying our hostels weren't ready in the Jalwa camp.
Oh, so when
Uh,
did you guys move in there? Jalwa.
6 months after. So we spent the first 6 months between nanny and NSC. I think that's what it was, Nehru Science Center, where
Yeah, yeah, yes,
the
yes.
classes used to
It
happen.
was there during our times also.
But I remember one of my roommates in Dhanbad was Samir. So Samir and I came to check out Triple IT Allahabad before joining in November, 3 months before we were supposed to join. And we signed our names in the Jalwa campus, and we said, we're prospective students here. We want to go inside and take a look.
Ah.
And the guard says, no, you can't. You're not a student. Like, we signed our names, we gave our ID, whatever. He lets us go. And then we were walking in the campus, those circular roads, and this guy has his gun pointed at us at all times. Believe it or not, it's like if you go off the path, I'm gonna... So there were those types of things that we chalk to, just nonsense. But yeah, this is very, very different type of experiences.
Sure. Just a second, sir. So, Saurabh, can you hear me? Where are the students?
Yes, sir, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
Saurabh, what is the time when we are supposed to begin?
So we within few minutes, I think within 5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes. Okay. Just a second.
I think the side session is more interesting than the main session. Catching up.
I didn't realize there are 24 participants on this call already.
Ah, all right. Are there?
Yeah.
Okay. So Ashish, you were in the Bay Area, or no? You were always in New York.
Yeah, I was always in New York right after my graduation.
Long
Yeah.
time since we met in conferences. So Ashish and me, we keep
Yeah,
bumping into each other in conferences, right?
yeah. Last we met at WebConf in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We happen to be lucky to work in similar areas, at least overlapping
Yeah.
areas. So
Yeah, I think like for me, nobody ever got to the field I worked in triple IT. So I work in microwave electronics, which is like radar and stuff like that, mostly for military. So I think UCLA is a good school for that because most aerospace companies used to be in Los Angeles. So that is, yeah. Here, actually, the Indian government is really trying to bring up an ecosystem, especially in defense. But the bureaucracy still gets in the middle. But still, I feel like these are good times. I mean, uh, to try your hand at like strategic stuff, like not just app stuff, which is pretty common here. So yeah. By the way,
So, Mr.
yeah. Sorry.
So they have signaled us to start
Okay.
the session.
Okay. I mean, we are already in the session. So yeah, I guess this is all we have, right? I think we should have most people already in, and then they can keep on coming in. Okay, so I guess most of you were already privy to our discussions, but I'll just give an introduction to our diverse and excellent panel of alumni that we have today. I'll start with the senior most, that is Dr. Abhishek Anand. So Abhishek sir received his bachelor's from Triple IT in IT. That was in 2005. then Masters in CS from Saarland University in 2009, and then PhD in Information Retrieval from Max Planck Institute of Computer Science. That was in 2013. He has worked as a software engineer at Microsoft Hyderabad right after his bachelor's, and has had two postdoctoral stints, both in Germany, one at the Max Planck Institute of Informatics and the other at L3S Research Center. He currently works as an assistant professor at the Leibniz University, where his research aims to develop intelligent and transparent machine learning approaches to help humans find relevant information. The research is supported by numerous Amazon Research Awards. Welcome, sir. I'll move ahead to Amod sir. So Amod sir did his undergrad from IIIT in 2007. And please correct me if this information is wrong, sir. If any one of you, please. 2007, and continued it with a master's in mathematics or computer science from University of Waterloo. He worked at Microsoft as a software developer right after that, and was there for 4 years in the MS Outlook group. Eventually, he left it to join an early stage startup in the Bay Area called AppDynamics in 2013. He held multiple product management leadership roles in AppDynamics, which was acquired by Cisco in 2017 for $3.7 billion, which was a record at that time in this domain. While at AppDynamics, he also got his MBA from Booth, the University of Chicago. He finally left the organization as a senior director of product management and go-to-market strategy in 2019 to co-found another startup called Inception. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Then Dr. Ashish Kapoor. So Ashish sir is a research scientist and research lead at Spotify at New York. He works on knowledge graphs and transformers research for podcast search and content-based podcast recommendations. He was previously at Yahoo Research working on discourse and dialogue problems, where he received the Master Inventor Award for innovative and impactful work. Prior to Yahoo, he obtained his bachelor's in IT from IIIT in 2007 and PhD in 2014 from the School of Computer Science at Carnegie Mellon. His research interests are semantic knowledge bases and multilingual discourse processing. He has previously worked on problems related to spoken language processing, spoken dialogue systems, etc. He has served as area chair, session chair, as a member of program committees of major conferences in the field of natural language processing and speech processing, and he serves as a reviewer for several international journals in the same field. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I'll move to our final panelist. He's from electronics. So Rohit sir received his bachelor's in 2011 from IIIT Allahabad in ECE, master's in 2014, and PhD in 2018 from UWM, Wisconsin-Madison, both in computer engineering. His research then spanned areas of computer architecture, machine learning, and robotics. From 2016 to 2018, Rohit sir worked in the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. There, his research was focused on modifying the deep convolution neural network models while considering compute and memory limitations present in low precision hardware. He joined NVIDIA in 2018 and is now working with the automotive safety team. At NVIDIA, Rohit sir makes sure that the deep learning computing that happens in autonomous cars and machines that have NVIDIA GPUs follow the safety protocol. Hello, sir. And then finally, I got my PhD from UCLA in 2018. I am a graduate from IIIT from the batch of 2012 from ECE. Right now, I am at IIT Delhi, where I work on microwave electronics. So I guess all of you are aware that there are 3 more sessions ongoing. One is for entrepreneurship, the other is for management studies, and the last one is for civil services. If you're looking for any one of those fields, this is not the place to be. Please make the move now. With that said, I'll begin. The question is here. Let me just pull them up. Okay. So yeah, I'll start with Abhishek sir. So Sir, you worked in Microsoft for 2 years after your undergrad. What made you then decide to continue on as an academician? And what was Microsoft's impact for that? I ask because most people don't envisage leaving their high-paying jobs for academia, especially these days.
So we as humans basically try to justify every move we make, right? Until we get here. So there are two answers to this. I can justify everything I did until reaching this point, which is essentially becoming a faculty member. But the honest truth is, nothing of this was planned. My entire journey has been a tumultuous, topsy-turvy, serendipitous journey where I never imagined that I would actually end up being a faculty member, right? None of this was planned, firstly. So the first thing I would say that people who are listening to this, it's all right if you do not have a plan in mind, right? You will reach somewhere as long as you're motivated and you kind of follow, you do the local decisions at the right time. Now, coming back to the question about Microsoft, well, I got into Microsoft immediately after my bachelor's, but the honest truth there was I did not do well in Microsoft. So I was, after the first year in Microsoft, I was actually an underperformed employee. So I was good enough to get into Microsoft, but it did not motivate me past the 6 months. For the first 6 months, I did pretty well. And then the next 6 months, I was essentially lingering. It did not motivate me what I was doing. So in that sense, the decision was easy because I was not good enough in that sense, right? Um, and then I thought that, well, let me do a move. And what I did was the good thing which I did, thinking back now, justifying again, right, was to completely change what I was doing, right? Not go back to kind of another Google or kind of another company, but rather think of doing a hard change and see doing essentially exploration rather than exploitation, right? Of my skills or the brand value which I had. And it is interesting that the only grad school I applied to was the Max Planck Institute, which is Ireland. I never applied to any place in the US, never applied to any other university. I just applied to a university which would give me a scholarship so that I just wanted a break from corporate life, right? That's what I did. And that's how I actually ended up in Germany, right? So nobody ends up in Germany if and nobody is clear that you want to end up in Germany if that is the only plan of action, right? It cannot be planned. So it was mostly serendipitous, and that's how I ended up here. But the second part of the journey was planned because once I ended up there, I kind of realized that the salary does not matter much, right? I was actually getting well paid and still was not motivated enough to work, right? That helped me choose the next steps. So essentially, from then on, I chose whatever excited me, and that was all planned after that.
So, sir, you say that the journey was tumultuous, topsy-turvy. Why would you say that?
Because I had a big identity crisis when I was at the last years in triple IT, right? To be honest, I really did not know what I had to do. I was just following what everybody else was doing, right? In that sense, I understand that many of the students would actually feel the same way, but I really did not know what I had to do with my life. So Microsoft was not also a direct convert, right? So I actually had a few other offers from um, other companies, but I ended up in Microsoft. That was also kind of serendipitous, right? I was in Bangalore doing some gig in some company there, and somehow Microsoft happened to be there, and somehow I ended up there because I like puzzles, and Microsoft then used to ask only puzzles, right?
I see.
So this is all serendipitous. It was nothing of this was planned. I just happened to put these bets because other people thought it was cool to do this. Like you have entrepreneurship now and startups, right? So then it was like if you get into Microsoft or a company called Trilogy, it's going to be good, right? Because you have this social pecking order. You're nice, right? You did this. But in all honesty, that was not my calling. I also had an admission into a B school then, right? Not my calling. I was just following what other people did. Yeah. So I was kind of in that sense torn. You can always say that, well, you have to only choose between goods, right? So you have Microsoft there, you have B school there, well-paying salary, but that's not always the case. That's not always what makes you happy.
So
I don't know if it resonate with others, but
no, I think most of us who are in academia would say that, and I think I will come to Ashish sir about this question also, because he offers us an idea of being in a company when probably you can be in academia, and he's very close to academia still. But sir, to you, another question to follow up. You did say that Germany just happened, but like there should be something which told you, not the United States.
All right, so I'll tell you. I'll tell you this the coincidence again. I was in Microsoft, and there comes a student who's my batchmate, right, who was doing his master's in Germany, right, and he comes there to do an internship, and he happens to stay with me because we were friends, right, and he's the one who basically tells me that why don't you kind of apply to this place, and the way he sells it to me that this is a paid vacation, right? You get 700 euros per month, and you get this for 1.5 months, 1.5 years. It's pretty easy. Why don't you just come there? And then just take a break, and then you can come back to do what you're doing, right? And that's how I ended up in Germany. I just applied to this place, only one place, and that's it. And yeah, that's why I'm saying it's all coincidence. This was just meant to be.
Very interesting, sir. So now the third question is more towards the recent trends, and I think I talked about it while we were informally talking. That is like the decreasing number of PhD candidates. What is your view about it, and should it be remedied or should it be just left to capitalist forces?
So market forces are always driving what people should do and what people should not. This is how it plays out. Market forces always at the end, right? If you try to go against market forces, invariably you would lose, right? But having said that, that does not mean that you should not educate people about the benefits of the academic way of life or the research way of life. So the first thing, so I also had to actually make a call at some point of time to do a PhD or not. So I did my master's, but there are two ways to think about it, right? If you want to only think about the monetary aspect and the stability aspect of this, then you do a benefit by cost analysis. That's what you do, right? If you do a local benefit by cost analysis, which means that in the next 2 years, right, I have an offer to a Nvidia or to a Amazon or a Google or whatever, right? This is what I would actually get, and this is what I have to pay. And the second one is a long-term benefit by cost analysis, right? So I would say that when you are young in your career, which means that you just finished your bachelor's, just finished your master's, you should invest in yourself and you should take all the wild bets now. You would not get this opportunity later on, or maybe you can still do this, right? It needs a personality to do this, but it's about investing, right? If I'm investing in crypto, then I should rather invest now rather than invest when I'm in my 70s, right?
True.
And if you're investing in ETFs or your index funds, right, then you are old enough or you're doing the wrong moves now. So don't make the index fund move, which is the stable investment move, when you should be investing in crypto. That's what I'm saying, right?
Very true.
And that's how what people should think about this. About invest in yourself, invest in upskilling yourself, invest in improving your skills right now, and it could be starting a new company, entrepreneurship, as Amod is doing, or going the academic way, which you think is now risky in terms of money, right? But you would actually gain far more benefits. That's why I say long-term benefit by cost ratio. So this is the advice which I give to students, right? And that's the only way in which you would be able to convince people that you have to tell these stories. You have to tell them what the benefit by cost analysis is for them, and then let them decide. You cannot force them to basically say that, well, we're going to increase. This is what governments do wrongly. I increase the pay of my PhD scholars, right? You're never going to measure up to the money which other industrial partners are going to give you. You're never going to do that. So
True.
what you have to do is you somehow have to do a two-pronged method. This is what we also do in Germany, and in US they do this very successfully, right? So you essentially have to convince the industry people that, well, you can actually fund us to have PhD programs, right? Because there are some long-term bets you cannot actually have within the company. You cannot actually have the funding within the company. So it's all economics at the end, right? You cannot have the funding, inside the company to do research which might fail. You always have product timelines, shipping dates, and also on and so
Sure.
forth, right? That is something the university can do. With a small amount of investment in the university, you can try those out, which can give you big payoffs, right? And on the other hand, you have to convince the students to look at the benefit cost analysis of your career, right? And let the market forces do that bit. That's what I would say.
Hmm. So, what do you think, sir? Like, why not PhD in India or like masters in India? Like, I just want to hear like
Uh,
small,
So
concise.
I happen to work a lot with PhD students in India also, right? Even if I'm here, I actually, we collaborate a lot. We, work with people in India. The only thing which is probably missing in India as of now is a clear exit strategy, right? The only exit strategy which is there in India is, well, you go to a good company. So there are only second exit strategy is essentially you go on to becoming a professor, but only established universities with very good patrons, right? So you need really patrons, right? So your professor should be patronizing you to become a professor later on. Only those people become professors at the end. And with the lack of these patrons and the lack of exit strategy, this is actually failing. That's my reading. My reading might be wrong.
I
That's my
think this is true because, like, if I can say about the IITs at Bombay, Delhi, or like Bangalore or Chennai or even Hyderabad now, Ahmedabad, I think generally most faculties are hired from universities in United States or Europe, maybe East Asia also, and somehow we don't even value our own students here, and that's kind of weird, but that is what is happening these days. But that is a right observation. So yeah, with that, I'll move to Ashish, sir. So yeah, quite an exemplary career, sir. But obviously, by your profile, it is clear that you still are very close to academia. Ever had thoughts of jumping over?
Yeah, honestly, I do think it's very close in the sense that Spotify and Yahoo Research, thankfully, they were pretty friendly to academic partnerships essentially. So I have some existing collaborations as well with some folks in Columbia and general at other universities. I was also involved. With my alma mater, Carnegie Mellon, like right after my graduation, I was participating in a 5 year long project between CMU and Yahoo Research. So in that process, I think it is quite helpful to actually work with both industry and as well as academia. I think one uh, thing I see as in maybe I don't want to speak against academia, but I'm generally seeing the trend is that even the professors in academia, at least in the US, they have a joint appointment with a company typically here, which is pretty common. So they do like 80%, 20% of their week with a company like Facebook or maybe Google, or even Alumni is a very popular industry lab in Seattle. So pretty common for University of Washington folks to actually have a joint appointment with Alumni or something like that. So I think I technically don't miss academia, so which is one of the reasons why I did not consider going back. And of course, an industry job definitely pays well, so that's another factor.
Hmm. So, sir, like then, this question would be, very pertinent to people who are in industry right now and thinking of getting their PhD degree, or students who are about to graduate. How did your PhD aid your career, and where do you think you would be if it wasn't for your degree or your experience in grad school?
So honestly, I would say the attrition rate in Carnegie Mellon, especially for PhD, is pretty high. You would see a lot of PhDs drop out, and also there is a longer term PhD, usually on average like 6 years or maybe 7 years is a average PhD in computer science at Carnegie Mellon. So that kind of builds up a lot of I would say character, or maybe like try to strive in a high pressure situations, especially when you're working. towards an industry job where, like Abhishek mentioned, you would have like a lot of product related goals that you have to align your research with. So there is that aspect of it. So I think, yeah, I would say, and also like having a lot of good connections with your uh, uh, peers and also like your the advisor actually helps quite a bit in order to grow your network. So honestly, so those things obviously shape your I would say career growth in a way indirectly.
Yeah, I've always thought that PhD just doesn't add technical skills to you. I think it also matures you as a person, that not every other job can. Like, that's what I feel like. There are some really rough patches that most of us have to go through. And like, yeah, I don't know, for me, like most of my publications came at the really real fag end of the PhD. And before that, I was like really disturbed, what would happen to me? I've already invested 5 years.
So
So yeah, sir, please.
I was just about to say that when you write a thesis, it's essentially a statement that's a single sentence, and you're actively, declaratively defending that sentence. So that's what you're going for. So in a way, I think um, it kind of builds towards your like kind of strength as a person who would try to stick to essentially become tenacious over the period of time. And those are some of the things, like you said, basically like having to publish or maybe like facing the rejections constantly, like like since the publication itself is a such a gamble at times. So yeah.
So yeah, that branches out to the next logical question. That should I even get into this, publish or perish culture? Like, what if I cannot do all that you just said in those 5, 6, 7 years of my life? And as Abhishek sir rightly pointed out, that might be just your prime age. Uh, is it worth it? I mean, I'm being paid 30, 40, 50 lakhs in India. Why should I go there?
Yeah, I think I kind of see publications as a way to collaborate with other folks in your lab or generally across the teams in general. I think that communication and also the to be able to persuade your audience why this problem is interesting that you're working on, which nobody cares, is I think single most important reason for me to write papers. Um, and every time you're going through a peer review process, it is essentially it's a mental exercise for you to self-criticize your own thoughts and to be able to put forward something that is definitely well crystallized and well articulated. Um, Besides that, I don't personally believe in the publisher perish strategy or even salami slicing your ideas into multiple things to get a higher publication count. That might work. That might be a necessity for someone who is on a tenure track professor. Like in the US, it's pretty competitive, obviously, so they have to they're measured in terms of their H index, etc. But fortunately, in industry research, you are not measured completely by your publication record or something. So it is okay to not publish in certain years. So, but still, I think I use the opportunity as a way to collaborate with other uh, people from different disciplines.
Abhishek sir, would you have something to add here?
Yeah, I would say that publication is just the output. What is most important is the journey. So at the end of the PhD, what you're supposed to become is an independent thinker who is sure of himself or herself first. And publication is just the success stories which you might or might not have along the way. So, what you actually get out of a PhD is a person who is self motivated, sure about himself or herself. And now, after a PhD, you can now go on and conquer anything. So that's actually what you get out of it. This is the opportunity which you would otherwise not get if you were not in academia, right? So this is the investment which you do for 4 or 5 years. There are two stories. One story, I met a a graduate from Stanford in one of these conferences, and this guy, right? He was a fifth year PhD student, and he had 3 papers, and we were all right. So this guy, he has like 3 papers. The Indian guy, right? I went up and spoke to him, and he said that I'm leaving academia, and I'm going to do farming. And I asked him why, and he said that, well, these 3 papers which you see, I've been trying to push them through the first year, and academia is more about how much thick skin you develop at the end of the entire thing. So he said that, well, I have an accomplished PhD now, but I have now understood how to think independently, and I know for sure that I have to be an entrepreneur, I have to change something in farming. And that's what it gives you, right? You don't have to be always an academic.
Absolutely, yes.
At the end, you have to be you become an independent thinker who's sure about his or her actions. Now contrast this to what I was while I was just in my bachelor's, right? Completely unsure about myself. And this is the single biggest benefit which a PhD has given me, irrespective of the publishing or perishing. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, just a sec. Saurabh, whatever questions are pouring in right now, can you just put them on the top of Google Doc? So
Yes, sir. Yes, I will do.
questions that come in now should be on the top, okay? And the questions
sir.
that have already come in through Google Forms should be after them, okay? So,
Okay, sir.
So, Ashish, sir, then a question about finances, right? Again, you get into the grad school 6-7 years, right? You don't have that much money that you might make in, as I said, like even India nowadays, right? So why would I even go for a PhD? No, that's the question. Now, just the financial aspect of it.
I guess, of course, one thing is delayed gratification, and the second thing, obviously, is that you, uh, if you're passionate about the area, I would say I may sound little cliched here, but I think what ties you to that particular goal is that everybody else like you are also thinking about the same problem, and you are kind of learning from them, or you're basically working with them together on that problem. So that I would say that itself will keep you motivated. And in terms of finances, just to keep yourself afloat, I think generally the stipend and the tuition is covered if it is covered through your graduate fellowship. I think that should take care of some of those worries at the very least. And I think towards the end of the day, like when I said, delayed gratification, it really feels so good after you graduate. I don't know how to better put this. Yeah.
No, I think that makes sense, sir. So with that, sir, I'll move to Amod, sir. So Amod, sir, you definitely are a very different breed of graduate degree holders. That is, we don't find a lot of alumni holding both master MS and MBA, and you had an MBA after your MS. So I'll start with the question: why MBA after MS?
That's a good one. So, I grew up in a very academic family. My dad's a professor, like we were talking about. My mom's a teacher in the army. I knew what that life looks like. So, what would happen if I go into an academia? What kind of a lifestyle I would have? I knew that. And in India, you start contrasting to US and Canada and some other places where I've lived. The first time you start to think about what you really want to do in life is when you finish your bachelor's. Before that, you have to do your engineering. That's almost never a question whether there's an option to do something else or not. In some other places, maybe there is. So growing up in an IIT, I never had that option. So when I started to think about what I can do, I was almost graduating from Triple IT Allahabad, and I had 2 options in front of me. I could go and I had done an internship in University of Waterloo in 7th semester. I could continue that as a master's, or I could do an MBA, which is what I really wanted to do, but I didn't have the money for it. So University of Waterloo was a full ride, and I'm generally very curious about things that I haven't done. So I had a couple of offers, campus offers to work, and I chose and went and did my master's. So after I did my master's, I then got into Microsoft, and I worked there for 4 years. And then after another 3 years, I started getting that feeling back, like, what have I done different? I haven't seen anything else. I studied computer science in my undergrad. I studied computer science in my master's. I'm a software developer. I'm a product manager. What does the finance world look like? What does the marketing world look like? Should I have a lot of friends who are very smart who are in New York who are working as investment bankers. Should I go there and do that? I have a lot of friends who are getting into academia doing a PhD. Should I do that? Is marketing interesting? Is consulting interesting? So I think what MBA gives you is, or at least what MBA gave me, was a small window into all of these other areas professionally. And that helped me to make a more educated choice about what I really wanted to do. Otherwise, I would have this itch forever. What if I'd done that? Would I be more happy? What if I'd done this? Would I be more happy? So I really just did an MBA to scratch that itch. That what would happen if I, and then in the MBA, it really is a very unique. It's called the terminal degree because usually once you do an MBA, you don't study after that.
See, yeah.
I, yeah. So that gives you a very good window into if you go into marketing, what side of it's a very practical degree also. What kind of work would you do if you go into consulting? How much travel would you have to do? If you go into finance, what would your life look like other than your bank balance? If you stay in technology, what would happen in that sense? So I got all of that and I decided this is what I wanted to do. And then that itch, at least I was able to scratch. Uh, but yeah, masters to me was, of the two or three options, go into academia versus go into industry. Uh, Everyone I talked to said that if you go into industry first, it'll be very hard for you to get out because the paycheck that you'll get used to and the lifestyle that you would get used to and the independence that you'll get used to will kind of keep dragging you back. I think Abhishek was also referring to it, except he was strong enough to do it. I didn't want to take that chance, so I did my masters first.
Hmm. Interesting, sir. So about app dynamics, what do you think? MS, MBA, like what were the advantages, and like would you have it any other way?
Um, actually there are two or three questions in there. So, was there an advantage to doing an MBA that helped me in app dynamics? Would I join or not join? I, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is introducing this course for product management for computer science students. I've seen a lot of engineering students become software developers. That's the natural path. They become entrepreneurs. They go into research and academia. But there is this other discipline that sits next to engineering, which is called product management. And there's no program that teaches you product management. It's one of those skills that you learn on the job. But it has a lot of skills that can be taught in programs in schools. Part of those skills come from your MBA degrees. A lot of those skills come from your engineering degrees. But it's really an amalgamation of those two. So had I not done my MBA, I would have probably continued to be a software developer because that's where I would have felt most comfortable, and my experience would have supported that. But decision making, prioritization, a lot of those things that you gain as part of an MBA are directly applicable in product management, where MBA students don't do well as product managers is they don't have those computer science and engineering skills because a lot of MBA students come from different areas. So in App Dynamics, through and through, for 6, 7 years, for whatever time I was there, I was a product manager. And had I not done computer science or had I engineering in computer science or had not done MBA, I would have been lesser of a product manager, if that's a good way to put it. So those two things actually really come together and define this profession.
So, sir, like to people who are looking at your career as a path to follow, what would you advise about the grad school, especially like how you made the changes and whatsoever?
Yeah, I was also looking at some of the questions that came up, and I know we have time to answer them, but I think this is aligned to those.
Go ahead, sir.
So, yeah, my advice is if you are smart, and you are smart because you are in the college that that you are in, and you are in this chat room, don't it's not a life and death decision. At sometimes it seems like a life and death decision. Sometimes it seems like, am I choosing the right university? What if I apply to top 3 schools but I don't get any of my dream schools? This and that. It's all right. It's totally all right. You'll be absolutely fine no matter where you go, whatever you do. You've come this far, which is indication enough that you'll be absolutely fine no matter what you choose to do at this point forward. So, like I think Abhishek was saying or Ashish was saying, this is the time for you to satisfy your curiosity. If you're really curious about something, um, if you're really curious about doing a master's in a subject, or if you're really curious about what does an industry life look like, do it. There's in At this point in your life, you're not making a final decision. You'll have plenty of chances to move from one to the other. So don't do that. Don't worry about that so much. Um, a master's, somebody was asking if you really need to have a master's to get a better job compared to a bachelor's. I think the short answer is no. For anyone who's in India, you have a bachelor's degree from one of the best institutions in the country. You don't really need a master's degree to get a better job. You actually do not. But if you want to get a job in, say, United States, that's the country I'm most familiar with. They value degrees in United States that you've earned in United States more than degrees you've earned in a foreign country. So if you have a bachelor's from United States and if you're a master's from United States, again there will be no difference. But if you're a bachelor's from India or say Germany, but you are competing with a candidate who has a bachelor's or a master's from United States, they would get a preference because they trust their institutions more, which is contrary to what happens in India, and that's unfortunate. But that's the reality here. So it really depends on what you want to do. If you just want to get a good paying job, and that's absolutely the fine thing to do in India, you don't have to really get a master's. But if you are curious about research and those type of things, it's a good time to do it.
Yeah, that's a very valid point, sir. Thank you. Thank you for that. So I'll come to our last panelist today, Rohit, sir. So, sir, I think the two of us were the first PhD candidates from EC to reach the United States from IIT or from Triple IT. And I was very lucky that, you were there to guide me through these, applications and stuff. It's not a very easy thing to do back then because we didn't have the culture there. How difficult was it for you then? And what would you advise about these things, especially for electrical or ECE students? Because I think this is where most people go for PhD nowadays, at least. As Amod sir said, maybe there's no reason, I mean, unless you have the curiosity to go for PhD for computer science students. But I think in our areas, there is a very valid reason, for going for a higher degree. I'll have your opinion on that, sir.
So I'll basically talk about what went through my mind when I was going through the application process. And like during the application process, the only thing I wanted to I was looking at during for the university program was how good is this university for VLSI, or how good is this university for the computer engineering or computer architecture program. And that was my focus the entire application process. I was only looking at which universities would be the best ones for a computer architecture program. Selecting a university for a PhD, like staying in Wisconsin for a PhD, it kind of happened by chance. So after I joined Wisconsin, I was still kind of like in this identity crisis. Should I continue doing a PhD? Should I leave after master? Should I join an industry? And you can say like right near the end of my master's, I met my advisor, Nico Lipasti. What motivated me to stay was not only like, sure, they are focusing on research, they are trying to like get the papers published, but the thing which I loved about Wisconsin was they were also encouraging professors and PhD students to in entrepreneurship, like get the product out, start a company. And my advisor had 2 companies under him. Both of them successful. They have been both bought by bigger companies. And this was right around the time when, so if you go back in time around 2015, 2016, this AI hardware was kind of becoming a buzzword. So you can say my advisor had already started working it in 2012. And it's kind of like I'm hearing all these, buzzword or this news about AI hardware. We've already done that. We've already seen the challenges. You already know about what are the system level problems you're going to face. So that kind of so that kind of encouraged me. You know what? My PhD is not just about publishing papers now anymore. I can also get an idea about how can I turn my research into a product, and what are the hoops that I have to jump through to even like get my research idea out, turn it into a product, and get it into the market, talk to the investors. That motivated me for a PhD. So you can think of it like a good university which has a PhD program will also give you an opportunity to start your own company. They will also mentor you. They will also guide you on, how to provide you with the seed fund, provide you with probably even a Series A fund. Um, Also let you go through these programs, entrepreneurship programs, where they teach you how to like turn your research idea into a product. Yeah, that's the advice I can give.
So yeah, adding to that, I mean, not a lot of students may be aware of this, but being in academia also allows you to be an entrepreneur. Like, um, while it is definitely true about United States that a lot of professors have their companies, I think UCLA's engineering school is named after a professor who founded Broadcom. Similarly, for I think UCSD, it's the founder of Qualcomm. I'm sure there are many other examples, both from electrical engineering. But this thing is also happening in India. It's just starting out. So, I mean, there are people who would be like me, who need to be closer to their family for whatever reasons. But like in IIT Delhi, we get like 50 lakhs, which is not a lot, but still, for starting your company. And on top of that, they provide you space and 3 years of paid just time out from your teaching or research duties just for your own company. And I think that's a really good impetus. And this lies on the faculty to make use of it. But there are avenues where you can commercialize your research being in academia, which people are not aware of. And this is not advertised, but it is how it is. So I'll continue with the next question, sir. So, what were your reasons to go for PhD? Mm, even in EC, a lot of people would like. I got an offer for Broadcom. There were reasons enough to just stay at Broadcom in India after my undergrad. But like, what were your reasons to go for PhD?
I was always interested in higher studies. Like I was always interested in MS, and it's during my BTech I kind of realized I'm also interested in this domain called computer architecture. And I realized like we never study these concepts, like the nitty gritties or this domain of architecture or this computer engineering is not something like that is a part of our curriculum intensely. Say for example, let's talk about triple IT Allahabad. We are taught this course called microprocessor design, but we are never taught like the system level things like operating systems or even compilers. uh, so I wanted to think, okay, so moving forward, I want to pursue a higher education in this domain, just focusing on this computer architecture domain. That pursued me to go for a master's. I stayed with the PhD because I realized it was giving me more opportunities than working in the industry. The reason being, like I said, not only am I like contributing to this domain or like contributing my research, I'm also getting an opportunity to learn more about the entrepreneurship side of research, to look at moving forward if I have to file a patent or if I have to commercialize the work which I'm doing, how to do that. It also gave me an idea about what's happening in the industry because during the course of my PhD, I was fortunate enough to work with IBM as well as with Lawrence Livermore National Lab. So, what are the problems that they are facing in their research department? How are they trying to, how are they working with other companies to commercialize their product or sell their products to them? So a PhD gave me more insight into these kind of things.
Hmm. Yes, interesting, sir.
That's what motivated me to stay in the PhD.
So, sir, and this branch, computer engineering, it is rapidly developing a space for itself, and like much like computer science in 70s and or 80s, it seems like we're going to see another cleave from electrical engineering. I feel like, especially like at MIT, we already have CE as a different
Yes.
department already. Can you tell us something about how this is different from like ECE in India? It's like communication engineering, but like I think most universities in US now, I think UCLA changed it the year we were graduating. They made it from electrical to electrical and computer engineering. What is it about computer engineering? Why? How is it different?
So it's, you can say it's that domain where we deal with both hardware and software co-design. From an EC perspective, you are learning about VLSI, you're learning about, say, like processor design. Um, you're learning, okay, so say like robotics, they have these applications. These are the sensors based applications that you're using in robotics. From a software side, you're learning more at the systems level. You're close to the hardware, like operating systems. You're learning more about compilers. How is your software working with the hardware? How this, and it's an interesting point that you bring up, because even a lot of software companies, big software names, have also started investing in hardware. Say like Google, their new Whitechapel chip, or even Apple. So computer engineering is like the domain where you study about hardware software co-design, or you get a flavor of both the worlds.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a very good point that you made, actually. Even for our field, which is basically antennas and filter design, Google, Facebook, Amazon, all of them were involved in these things, like pretty sophisticated programs to that. They have a large team of PhD holders now working on these things. So that's a good point. So, sir, last question to you. Any chance of crossing over to academia? And if so, then in United States?
No, it will not be in United States. That I can say for sure. If I will come back to academia, it will be in India.
Yeah.
No,
Why is it?
it's just that, like you said, India is also coming up with more opportunities. Over the years, I've been looking at what's happening in IITs in India. How are they, promoting or helping out their faculties from the entrepreneurship side of skills, as well as the research, from the research side as well. Um, I have been following, like, keeping in track, or maybe even had talks with. I'm also in talks with current faculty members in IITs. Like IIT Delhi has Priti Sarangi, there's Meenakshi Chaudhary. The so the opportunities in India are growing. I feel, yes, a lot of students are also getting interested in PhD or the research side in India. So that's one, and plus I'm more familiar with the, let's just say, ecosystem or the challenges which are there in India and how I can contribute my skills to India. That's why I feel, yes, I am still considering coming back to academia, but I'm thinking of doing it only in India.
That's a very good point, sir. Like, just to add to it, like, yeah, we would be very lucky to host you here if you decide to. And actually, I'm actually competing in army trials for anti-drone system, which I did not think I would be ever able to do in India. But yeah, by next month we are going for field testing in Baramulla and stuff, and which is, it's not a small thing if we get the final tender. I mean, so these things are happening, and the army is actually supporting us. So we have Army Research Board, Naval Research Board, and I feel like a lot of US research, and especially in electrical engineering, is driven by the military, which has started happening here. I mean, there are reasons why the Navy, and you have NRL or AFRL or ARL in United States, even though there is DARPA. In India, DRDO is a much slower machine to move. It's not very effective. So now you have Naval Research Board and Army Research Board, and they're very entrepreneur in their nature. They don't understand a lot of science, let's say that, but they know that this is your specifications, this is what we need to do, and they have the money to shell out. So there are exciting times. These are exciting times in India. That's what I feel, especially from electrical engineering perspective.
So I would like to add to that point as well. If you look at the most popular processor industries or these computer processor industries, they're Intel, AMD, Nvidia. They're all based out of USA. Recently, there is another trend which is coming out, like in this academic, even in the industry community, which is called RISC-V, which is an open source hardware. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because there is active research which is going on or happening in India, especially in IIT Madras, where what the thought process is like we should manufacture our own chips in India. An open source community like RISC-V is helping us out in that. And you might have heard like this Shakti processor.
Yes.
The reason is these chips or these processors which are now being developed in India can be used in defense as well, can be used in other applications in India as well. And that's an opportunity I see.
True. Okay, sir. So we don't have a lot of time, and there are some questions with us. So I'll just go through them as many as I could. The first question is directed directly to Amod sir, and the question is, sir, can you please elaborate on your internship experience in 7th semester? What does one have to do to get such an internship?
It's we used to call it a very sophisticated brute force emailing technique. So I don't know how the curriculum is shaped these days in Triple ID Allahabad, but back when I was doing it, the 7th semester used to be very sparse. There were no academic requirements. There were no course requirements. You were supposed to do a internship either in the industry or in some academic institute. So a lot of students from my batch had, even previous to the 7th semester, applied for internships in the summer break between second and third year. Some of them went to Germany. Some of them, I went to Italy. And then that was also the same way. You reach out to you, depending on what you're interested in. Some students went to ISC Bangalore because what they were interested in, what was happening there. So figure out what you're interested in. I will very honestly and happily admit that I did not know what I was interested in at that point. So I just started from a alphabetical list of universities that were open to take internship students, and I emailed them. And then I got some responses, and I picked the one that I liked. I in the 7th semester I did it the same way. I was supposed to go to University of Ottawa first, but then I got another opportunity from Waterloo, which was better. Went to Waterloo. Really liked that experience because 2 months, the summer internship in 2 months is not really enough time to do anything. The 5-6 months that you get at a stretch in the 7th semester in Waterloo was sufficient time to know the team, to know the potential advisors and all of that, and they came back and offered me a master's, which then I took. That's kind of how it happened. There was no, I didn't have a special source. I didn't have any special technique. A lot of students like me applied, and a lot of students like me got their internships in different areas.
Okay. So I think the next question, I'll just put it out to all of you, and anyone can take it up. The question is, if one wants to pursue MS from foreign university directly after bachelor's, on what things they should focus on during their bachelor's to get admitted in top universities, for whatever that's worth?
Can I take that?
Yeah, yes, sir.
I'll have a contrarian view. I would basically say that the trap which people fall into is always try to apply to the top universities. I can say that as in hindsight, but the universities which you keep hearing about would be the universities would spend a lot of amount in marketing also, right? So that's actually some perspective for you. There are many other universities all over the world which are as good as the other top universities, and there is nothing wrong in trying to also look out for those universities also. So it's not the end all game. As long as you're getting to a place which is better than yourself, which is interested in you, that is more important than getting to the top universities first. That's the second part of the question about top universities, right? The first part of the question is more important, right? What do you actually need to do? The first and most important thing which you need to do during your in IIIT is actually work on a couple of skills which you are interested and motivated in, and work on them properly, right? Don't try to, there's this common perception that I have to have a good CGPA, high grades and everything. Well, that's good, but that is a very parochial view. It'll give you this mechanistic attitude in which you want to actually game grades, right? So because humans are born organisms, to if they want to get to a goal, they will choose the easiest way to get to the goal, right? So choosing the best grades might not be the best way to do that. Choose a couple of skills which you think would which motivates you, which you feel interesting, and work on them. You can work on a couple of projects, you can take a couple of subjects where you want to specialize on and work on them, okay? And that you can sell in your application well while you are actually applying to these universities. And believe you me that this actually reflects in your application, right?
Definitely.
So motivation and these things reflect in your application. Try to figure that out, because at the end of your bachelor's or in the end of the master's, you want to become a more sure person, right, and not a more unsure person. So optimize for becoming more sure at the end of your bachelor's, rather than trying to giving this common checklist of things that I have to have a good CGPA, great recommendation, one great internship abroad, right? That really does not work. So internships are actually great. Great. They are basically paid information campaigns for you to kind of get to know about everything, right? So these are very good. Do that. But if you do not get that, if you work on a couple of skills right from the early stage of your bachelor's, which motivates you, and get yourself to be a specialized person in that, that actually pays a lot more than trying to get to a CGPA and gaming the checklist. Checklist you will find anywhere in the internet. You don't even have to ask the penny.
Thank you, sir. So this question is, I think, a bit trite, but the question is like, what factors we should keep in mind before writing an email for a research internship? So would anyone?
I get 15 emails in a month, and I'm telling you, I'm a junior researcher, right? So I'm a junior professor, right? I'm sure that senior professors and more established universities will actually get a multiple higher, order of magnitude higher number of emails. The first thing which you should keep in mind while you are sending email to a faculty member to get his or her attention is value for the time. Nobody wants to read more than a paragraph, and it should not follow a template which says that I have these lists of accomplishments. Basically be honest, right? I am this. I mean, forget about the CGPA. Tell them about the project which you've done. Tell them about one thing which you are passionate about, and tell them about, well, you should have at least read the research of the person. And you can admit, I have no clue about your research. Looks good, but I read this paper and this. And what about this? People want other students to be just have done the due diligence. This interest does not mean that I just take a keyword and paste it there, right? Amod was talking about many people do that. I mean, I'm guilty of doing that, right? But that does not work when you actually come to the other side. Write a short, brief email and show interest in terms of, I've read your paper, I can connect it to my past work, or I read your paper, I have no clue about this, but just be honest and show interest in a small one paragraph. Don't, nothing else.
I would second that. When you're writing an email, make sure you spend time to find out the person you're addressing. What are they doing right now? If you can't find what they're doing right now, so if someone writes an email to Kirti saying, "Hey, I'm very interested in doing research in microwaves and antennas and anti-drone technology," that will get his attention whether he hires that person or not. If you write him an email saying, "Hey, I'm 9.5 CGPA from IIT Madras, and I'm gold medalist and this and that." Okay, so what? So do read on, see if you can find out. It's sometimes very easy to find, sometimes it's not. But if you can find out what they're currently interested in, what problem they're currently thinking about when they wake up in the morning, and you address that directly, assuming you really are interested in it, right? If you want to be a software programmer in Microsoft, but you write to Kirti about antennas and microwave, that's neither helping him nor you. So So that has to be there, but make sure you do that much research.
Uh, I actually agree with everything what Abhishek and Amod said. I just want to add one last thing that maybe sometimes the professors could be super busy, so try to reach out to maybe the PhD students or the postdocs in the lab.
Very good
They are
point.
probably they have more access. They're probably more working on the meat of the things. So if you have, and probably you're going to work with them closely, and that's what happened to me as well when I did an
So,
internship
yeah,
at APFL. So
exactly.
So yeah, Saurav, are you here?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Saurabh, so are we running out of time now or what?
So yes, they have asked to end it as soon as possible, within 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, so we do have 5 to 10 minutes, right? Okay, so I'll just stretch it for 5-10 minutes because there are a lot of questions, and as much as we can do, I think 11:10 we'll just close it. Okay, is that okay, Saurabh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So then, so the next question is again, anyone can take it up. What are the things in CV that companies and university really look for? I don't think this is the right platform for companies, but yeah, universities really look for.
honestly, like there's some universities who didn't even bother to look at the GRE or the TOEFL scores. So there are definitely those. So focus on, I think, again, I think as Abhishek mentioned, write a project that you are really passionate about and have worked on and you like it. And that's what goes into your statement of purpose, obviously. So I was at the graduation, I mean, sorry, the grad committee which kind of filters out the applications at CMU. So I kind of knew that this was one of the things that professors obviously look for. They really want to know that you have if you're applying for a PhD per se, you have a longer term goals on what you would like to do in a research area, not just mentioning the area would work. So
So the single thing which matters, at least in hiring, right? I can say hiring a PhD student is whatever you claim to know, how well do it know it? That's it, right? If you say that I am working on some small area in search, in ranking models, let's say that you should know for a bachelor student more than a student should know about that. If you're claiming that you know that well, and all these interviews basically test you on that, right? So if you're able to prove what you know very well, then that's it, right? So at least do that.
Okay, so get to the next question. The question is, how do I pursue a career in robotics research? I am currently a second year ECE student and I'm doing a basic course MOOC on robotics. It has cybernetic approach, I guess. And I'm planning on learning ROS. Is this the right path? Also, I'm willing to go for a foreign internship through some scholarship program like Dad Wise. So that so what else should I take care of?
So I'll take that one simply because a really good friend of mine, another fellow graduate from Triple IT Allahabad, who's in another one of these sessions,
Samir.
was interested in was interested in robotics. Did his master's in robotics. Did his PhD in robotics from Stanford University. Now started his own company building robots. So if you are interested, really interested in that, message me and I can get you in touch with him, which will and he will give you a much more detailed answer about that. But just seeing him and other people during our times, I don't know if it still happens, but Professor Nandi used to teach this course about robotics in fourth year, third year, sometime. It was one of the electives. Make sure you do that. Talk to him. He's a good resource in terms of how you can uh, approach this area. What are the things to keep in mind? The applications of robotics also keep changing from time to time. So right now, they look very different from what they used to do 2 decades ago when we were studying it. But yeah, uh, I would say start with him. You have a very good resource in the campus.
Okay,
So
so
I think Sir was talking about Samir Menon, sir.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He was in the entrepreneurship program.
Right, right.
He's an entrepreneur. Yeah.
I think for any topic, right? It might be robotics, might be anything. Is there are now all of these open courses, right? Just take one course seriously, end to end. Just do that, right? So you have the world's best universities, Stanford, MIT, and everything. Just do an entire lecture end to end, and while you're doing that, you develop enough expertise to search for the right keywords, right? And then do your due diligence, right? So what are the other labs working on, right? And that will tell you about, oh, what are these are the interesting areas. I saw that 3 of the labs actually working on this area. Let me try to build on it. Ask people. So that's a good way to start. It's a low risk way, because at the end you will end up doing a proper lecture, right? That's already good.
Okay. So, yeah, Abhishek sir, the next question is to you. What is the best path for pursuing a MS PhD degree at a foreign university? Working at a company first or directly joining after bachelor's?
So I would say that joining a company later on, retrospectively, actually, made me realize that I had some skills which my other peers who did not have a company experience lacked. Right. So specifically, you get this process orientation. So in companies, if you've really done your job well, I was not doing my job very well, but at least few things which I picked up from there is it's very process driven. So you get this self discipline working in companies, and the way you communicate in term with your peers, this is something which you pick up, which you do not pick up if you're all out in a academic setting. So some experience in a company helps, although I would not say that you have to go to companies, like as Amod really very nicely put out, right? Working for a good company is as the best drug, right? It will not allow you to go back into academia if you had the better drug. So some experience is good, but you should know what you should take from the company. It's not earth shattering if you do not go to a company. That's it.
Yeah,
Part of the question. Sorry.
yeah, no, no. I think what I was referring to was the same thing, Abhishek. That if you're sure that you want to do an MS and PhD, just do it.
Yeah.
So I think this question just adds to the previous one. Does work experience act as a plus point while applying for MS in the US?
Should not.
No.
Yeah, I think I agree to that. Unless it's like so research intensive that you would actually add to your profile. Not very sure you can get that in bachelor's. However, yeah, my thing is a bit different. I actually got my scholarship from Broadcom to study at UCLA because I did my internship there. But I
Mhm.
think that's not something of a path you can take. I had no idea about it whatsoever. Like I had applied to UCLA before I went for my internship, and I had no clue that Broadcom was from UCLA and they had a program to send you there. But yeah, they also asked me that I could go to Singapore. The PhD was, for a shorter time, but then they had something called a bond, which was really scary. So I just moved to United States. Okay, so the next question is, yeah, I don't know who would want to take it, but biggest lessons you took from your mistakes that you wish someone told you earlier.
I probably would say that explore much earlier. Explore. I mean, I still explored this because I did not do very well in my first company, but don't wait until you become a failure, right? Just explore in the beginning. There is no problem. I mean, you've probably heard about this nice startup story from India, right? It's called Internshala, right? So, read about this company. This guy does not know anything about programming. He starts a company about interns from this list of past members, alumni network from IIT Madras, and does a good job out of it. Just explore early enough, and there is no problem. If you don't get somewhere, it's not the end of the world, as Amod said. Just do it.
Yeah, and one thing that I would tell my past self is, and my friends in that time was, worry less. You'll all be fine. Worry about jobs and grades and masters and PhDs, whether you'll get it or not. If you really wanted to do a master's, whether you'll get into a program or not, don't worry. You've come this far. When you apply yourself to it, you will get it. You'll get the job you want, you'll get the salaries you want, you'll get the programs you want. You have to apply yourself, and there is no trick that you will miss out on. There's no trick there. You've come this far. You're in a school that you're in a university that is known for hiring and producing brilliant students. You'll all be fine. So just worry less, enjoy yourself, explore all the opportunities, like Abhishek saying. What does research look like? What does internship look like? What does a job look like? What does robotics look like if you're curious about that? What does mathematics look like? Researching that. Whatever you're curious about, take time and do it. Whichever path you take, you'll get to where you want to.
Okay, sir. I think the next question is directed to me. It says for the position of assistant professor, PhD plus postdoc is needed. Since Germany has a longer path of academia than the US, I'm not very sure if that's true. Will it be a better choice? I'm not very sure about this. First, I don't think postdoc is needed in the United States. It's not needed in India. Not very sure about Germany, and I'm not really sure that it has a longer path of academia than the US. Uh, the second thing is what could be one's motivation in staying abroad? Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, I don't know why would, I mean, maybe better facilities. I don't know. I mean, I didn't stay abroad. I came back. I just wanted to be close to my country. Also because a family and B, my research is very close to military, and somehow in my conscious, it did not suit me to work for some other country for things that I did. But that is for me, and it's a pretty comfortable lifestyle here. I mean, you get paid okay, and the campus life in India, even triple IT has a good campus. IITs also have really good campuses, and I think that was it. But I really don't know about Germany having a longer path of academia. Yeah, so
In Germany, I can say that, well, academic, if you want to embark on the academic path, it's a slightly more convoluted than the US, but there are, again, positives and negatives, right? The positive there is it is not as cutthroat to get funding as it is in the US. US, it's, just a killing there. But on the other hand, it has a longer path in terms of you have to do a post. I mean, there is a postdoc culture in Europe. It's not there in the US. There is a postdoc culture in Europe.
I see.
Having said that, the times for PhDs are smaller. So you might do a longer PhD in the US and no postdoc, but here you do a shorter PhD and a postdoc. So the postdoc plus PhD almost balances it out. There's not much. At the end, what merit is actually what is counted. How much do people in the community know you? Have you been able to make a mark? That's it. Even if you are a great student after your PhD, you can still be an assistant professor even here if you prove yourself.
Actually, even in the US, I've seen like some of my friends actually did postdoc if they wanted to transition into a interdisciplinary work. So they did work on things like neurolinguistics, etc. So that's what one of the things they choose postdoc for, and they have spent like probably 4 years in one of the universities. So I think, yeah, it does make sense if you want to do something interdisciplinary. But sometimes also for tenure track reasons, people have chosen to do postdocs in US.
So, sir, the last question for now, I guess, and I think this is directed directly to Abhishek, sir, which is, can you share your experience after your PhD? Do you have any suggestions for someone who might want to continue in academia in Germany? I assume the lady who asks is already there in Germany pursuing her PhD, but yeah.
I'm happy to speak personally, but in general, my experience after the PhD has been smooth. But the more important part is there should be a game plan after your PhD, right? And you should be confident, you should be sure enough about what you want to pursue, how your career should look like after your PhD. If you're still not sure about things after your PhD, then what you have to do is you have to take actions, corrective actions, to understand about what is causing these issues, right? So at the end of a PhD, you should be a self-sufficient, confident person who should know what are the right questions to ask, and that should start from yourself. If you still have confusions, then probably academic path is for now not the best. You can go to the industry, taste waters there, but at least have a game plan after your PhD. If you don't have that, it's a bumpy ride.
Okay. So then, yeah, I think let's wrap it up now. Although we have a lot more questions, but we don't have a lot of time. Thank you so much, all of you, to be for being here. And if there are questions, maybe I'll just I'll broadcast a mail, and if somehow you guys have time, maybe you can respond to them. But thank you again. I mean, it was a pleasure talking to you guys. I mean, even I had no clue except Rohit said that you guys existed. So I think this was a good time for us to all get together. So yeah, thank you so much. I hope to catch up with you soon. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
All the attendees kindly join the main meet. The link is given in the chat box.